let's go ahead and get to the very latest with regard to what is going on. Let's put this image up on the screen just so everybody knows what we're talking about with Gaza City here. So this is the before and after. Already Gaza City is, so much of it is destroyed and just turned into rubble and unlivable by any reasonable standard. Nevertheless, the invasion of Gaza City, the re-invasion of Gaza City has begun. The latest that I saw was that the Israeli army had reached the outskirts of Gaza City, which of course is the largest city in the Gaza Strip. Many hundreds of thousands, we don't know exactly how many, but many hundreds of thousands of people have returned now to Gaza City. You'll remember the way that their initial invasion occurred sort of went from north to south, and people kept getting pushed further and further and further south until they were in Rafah. All eyes were on Rafah, and then Rafah was utterly and completely destroyed. Now you have, as I said before, high-level security minister in the security cabinet saying, hey, we want to do to Gaza City what we did to Rafah. Palestinians are trying to decide whether or not, we can put the next element before up on the screen, guys, as well. Palestinians are trying to decide whether they're going to move yet again, be displaced yet again. Many of them have had to relocate some 5, 6, 7, 8 different times. They are utterly exhausted. They have little resources in terms of food or money or anything else. Most of the structures in the entire Gaza Strip, not just in Gaza City, have been destroyed. So it's not like you can go and rent an apartment. Everything is bombed to pieces. In fact, there's a Dropsite did a piece on the dystopian real estate market that has sprung up where people will rent even something that has been bombed, and is effectively like a shell if it even has any sort of roof that is intact. That's what we're talking about. So, I remember Senator Slotkin told us that the sort of conventional military attack had finished. Mm-hmm. That is very much not the case. It is escalating. There are already horrific images which are coming out. And so, I think this dovetails well with the interview that was done here by the guys over at Trigonometry, where Netanyahu's trying, oh no, ethnic cleansing, I would never, we don't want to occupy, blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, this is what's actually unfolding in the real world.
Yeah, no, it is crazy, especially because we were saying, we don't even have a lot of images from it. And there's kind of a reason why. And a lot of it is because most of these journalists are dead. That was the...
yeah, that's right.
Unfortunately, that really was the impetus. It appears behind some of these killings. That's what Ryan was emphasizing.
Yeah, that's why they murdered that whole Al Jazeera crew, because they were planning to stay and cover the re-invasion of Gaza City. That's and now they can't because they're dead.
Yeah, and, in continuing with the expansion on this the settlement question, it is... By the way, we're going to have a very interesting interview hopefully soon, but there was a man who was a top press officer at the State Department who was just fired because he wanted to release a statement from the United States expressing condolences about the loss of life for journalists in Gaza. And he was fired for that. Now, keep in mind, not only was he fired just for that, but also because he pushed back and said that the United States State Department should not refer to the West Bank and Gaza as Judea and Samaria. And it appears that he was knifed by Mike Huckabee's most senior aide, David Milstein. And so, yeah, hopefully we're going to have an interview with this gentleman soon. But I just want people to see, too, about that settlement question and about the adoption of their own language and rhetoric here in our government is now basically open for, it's open for business.
That's right.
Has been, I know, from a policy level, but look, this stuff still does matter. How the U.S. government refers to the West Bank as Judea, and West Bank and Gaza, Judea and Samaria are not. That stuff matters. Yes, the ambassador says it, but when Maine State and the Secretary of State says stuff like that, that's a declaration of policy at a government level.
Yeah, that's right. And it seems like Milstein has been an important force behind the scenes. And he shouldn't be. He's just an aide to the ambassador to Israel.
Right.
But he is really taking control of a lot of the Israel policy, and he is extremely hard line. And, to your point about yes, the U.S. obviously under bipartisan presidents has always been very pro-Israel. No one is denying that. But there used to be, the official line was that we support a two-state solution and we are opposed to the illegal settlements. That's all out the window at this point. They don't even pretend. There's not even a pretense. And in fact, Ambassador Mike Huckabee went on Israel's army radio, drop site picked this up, and said that, this new settlement plan, which is incredibly significant, it's called E1, it's east of Jerusalem. The UN has long said for years that moving forward with construction of this particular settlement would, quote, drive a stake through the heart of a two-state solution because the way that it severs Palestinian communities in the West Bank. In any case, Mike Huckabee went on Israel's army radio and said that Washington does not oppose that plan. Let's go ahead and take a listen to a little of that.
It is not a violation of law for Israelis to live in the land. And to say that they can't would be rather bizarre, to say that anyone else could live in regions, but Israelis could not. Whether or not there should be a massive development in E1 is a decision for the government of Israel to make. And so we would not try to evaluate the good or the bad of that.
So there you go. They're on board with it. No problem. I mean, this is, Miriam Adelson presumably getting her money's worth from her massive investment. The minute that Huckabee was put in as ambassador, I mean, he is a religious zealot when it comes to Israel. We knew that was an extraordinary, significant development. And our friend Jasper talks about how the annexation of the West Bank, which was Miriam Adelson's main priority with her investment in Trump, with her campaign contribution to Trump, that was her main goal, and it is effectively accomplished. So this is what she got for her money, effectively.
Yeah, no, you're right. And those settlements are the ones that we've covered here extensively because they're the ones that historically were never pursued by any even right-wing Israeli government because it would block the establishment of a Palestinian state. So that's what the symbolism of this is. And of course, it was approved by one of those cabinet members inside of Bibi. So just so
that's
everybody
right.
understands.
Yeah,
that. Let's go
exactly
put the next
right.
one up on the screen, just about the State Department. This one is important. So they say that the U.S. State Department will now further number of sanctions in response to the ICC's, quote, ongoing threat to Americans and Israelis. So what they say is they are designating several members of the ICC. Now, why? It's because, quote, these individuals are foreign persons who are directly engaged in efforts to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute nationals of the United States or Israel without the consent of their either nation. Now, let's make it very clear. It's about investigation, arrest, and detention of Israeli officials. It has nothing to do with American officials. And to the extent that it does, it's about support for Israel, just so we're all very clear. And of course, this decision has been hailed by the Israeli cabinet members and others, even some ex-cabinet members who ironically are not right-wing enough for Bibi, but still, whatever, under detention or arrest warrant by the ICC. And it's, I mean, look, it's a classic case. The full force of the U.S. empire being used to protect the Israeli government. You can't make this shit up. It's like an anti-Semitic conspiracy.
Yeah, truly. And let's jump forward to B8 because I know Saagar really enjoys this particular element and dynamic. You've got 225 new immigrants from the U.S. and Canada landing in Israel here, going to they won't renounce their U.S. citizenship, but they will become dual Israeli citizens here. Saagar.
Yeah, I just think
you love this.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Very patriotic Americans who have made Aliyah. More than 1,000 immigrants, quote, have arrived from North America, according to the Ministry of Aliyah and, quote, integration in Israel. Keep in mind that many of these people end up becoming the most psychotic and settler regime, like settlers who end up occupying some of the areas inside of the West Bank. There's that famous video of that guy from Brooklyn berating a Palestinian woman. And he's like, if I don't steal your house, then somebody else will steal it. I mean, it's something I actually noticed when I visited the Western Wall. And, before you get there, there's these people who greet you. And I was talking to them and he's like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from, Texas or whatever. He's like, oh, I'm from Boston. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, got it. I was like, do you live here? He's like, yeah, I live here. I was like, oh, all right. Well, got it. So this is a common thing. He was an Orthodox Jew. So there you go.
Yeah, I told you it's crazy to me. I looked it up. My kid's dad is Jewish, and typically it passes through. It's supposed to be the mom that's Jewish, but in some reform Judaism, then it can be either. And sure enough, yeah, they could move there. They could become Israeli citizens. Palestinians aren't allowed to have rights there, but my kids who have no connection to it, it's just utterly, insanely preposterous. One more piece that I just found interesting that I wanted to flag for everybody. This again is drop site B7. Let's put this up on the screen. Apparently, this Palestinian businessman, Samir Houlayla, he's claiming the U.S. approached him to be the governor of Gaza. They describe him as a little-known Ramallah-based businessman and economist who's taken on various roles in the Palestinian Authority and as a cabinet secretary to the PA for several months in late 2005 and 2006. Anyway, he is alleging that he was approached about, being sort of installed as a governor of Gaza. So I guess they have been doing some reach outs to find their Chalabi.
He looks just like him,
right?
Too.
And
Yeah.
he spent some money on like a lobbyist here in D.C. because it doesn't matter what the Palestinian people want; it matters who you can convince here in this town, apparently,
of course,
to rule the Gaza Strip.
This is classic. If you've ever spent enough time in Washington, the suit with the quarter zip is a dead giveaway. All right, that means something is not right here. Okay? It usually means somebody with too much money and bad taste, which is of course exactly who's welcomed here.
Just look at the White House.
The halls.
Terrible combination.
It's not a good combo usually. And so we have our Ahmed Chalabi for what the future may hold. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.